Always. Okay, so China's vast countryside is experiencing a powerful move of God. CBN News has obtained exclusive images from inside the country of this amazing revival, including those from a couple of Chinese evangelists who are witnessing many miracles firsthand.
Duan Huailei says these images captured on his home video camera are proof that God is moving in China.
This is the first time you're seeing pictures of Christians from the villages openly praising God.
Duan gave CBN News exclusive access to hours of video and pictures taken in dozens of locations across China. They show one thing in common: men and women of all ages being touched by the power of God.
Everywhere I go, I meet people who are hungry for God, and He's showing up.
Duan and his wife are full-time evangelists. Since 2003, they've crisscrossed the Chinese heartland, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ.
God called us to focus on the rural areas where life is often very difficult.
Difficult, yet simple in many ways. Duan showed CBN News pictures of how people are baptized in rural areas after they've accepted Christ into their lives.
Sometimes I baptize them in a river. Sometimes they are baptized in the back of a pickup truck. A couple of times I've conducted baptisms in the shower. Very often we just have to improvise.
It was here in the Chinese countryside that Christianity first began decades ago. Most of the rural Christians now are women, meeting in either government-sanctioned churches or in so-called house churches.
The young and older men have moved to the big cities to look for jobs, and so most of those who attend these services are older women.
And mind you, sharing the gospel in China is still forbidden.
I was arrested here a number of times.
Such Christian gatherings are illegal since they aren't approved by the government.
The government doesn't allow people who live in one city to travel to another city. We are mindful of the regulations.
Despite the government restrictions, China watchers say what's happening spiritually in the country is nothing short of remarkable.
There are still masses of converts every day in the countryside. It's very encouraging.
This man, who we will call Peter, has worked with China's underground churches for decades. CBN News agreed to conceal his identity to protect him.
But still, so many peasants in so many places are coming to Christ in large numbers. In churches, in many of those cases, are maturing and getting beyond simple evangelism and reaching out to rural minority groups and unreached people groups.
Today is Communist China's new and global manifesto, militant and menacing.
It's a far cry from the dark days of the Cultural Revolution. Fang Gongyang heads the Center of Religion and Chinese Society at Purdue University.
At that time, all churches, temples, and mosques were closed, and no public religious service was allowed.
Chinese government data and international surveys now report millions of Chinese people flocking to religions like Christianity, Buddhism, Taoism, and Islam. But it is Christianity that's experiencing the most dramatic growth. CBN News obtained this map showing the stunning picture of Christianity's explosion across China's cities, counties, and villages.
If the current trend of growth keeps the current pace, I think it's likely in the next 30 or 40 years, the number of Christians in China could reach really a high number, perhaps similar to the US or Brazil.
Duan says the preaching of the Word of God in the countryside is usually followed by miracles and healings.
People who could never walk before begin walking. The blind see. I've even witnessed a man being raised from the dead. We see amazing healings and miracles each time we travel.
Duan is a walking miracle himself. In the late 90s, he and his wife lived in Budapest, Hungary, running a successful clothing company.
We were making lots of money and living the high life, but I didn't know the Lord. I soon realized I needed something more than material success. I eventually gave my heart to the Lord.
6 months after giving his life over to Jesus Christ, Pastor Duan was viciously attacked by members of a Chinese mafia team based in Budapest.
He shows us the knife scars on his back, arms, and stomach. that he says serve as reminders of God's protection and faithfulness.
I was stabbed over 50 times and almost lost my life, but I know God spared me for a reason.
And this is it, the opportunity to reach the remote parts of this great land with a message of hope and salvation found in Jesus Christ.
I preach in the government-sanctioned churches and house churches, and in both places, God is moving in powerful ways. My prayer is that one day, everyone in our nation will hear about Jesus Christ.
Incredible. And statisticians say that if the current numbers keep at pace, China could soon become the world's largest Christian nation. Amazing.